Chodesh.
Chodesh. Wie soll ich mir gut Chodesh?
Gesunde Chodesh.
Ein gesunder Chodesh, ein gesunder Winter.
Ein junger Chodesh.
Es steht für heuer, Le'ois al yodcha l'toite fois beninecha, ki b'choizek yod ha'tzionu Hashem mitzrayim. The tefillin that we put on our hand and we put between our eyes is an ois, is a sign that the Rebbeinu Shalom took us out of Mitzrayim and choizek yod. The Mezaidah Shtaltzach, he says, why do we find that in the Torah there's so many things that we do, Zeicha L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. Over here we have the mitzvah tefillin, that Zeicha L'Yetzias Mitzrayim, all the Yom Tovim that we have is Zeicha L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. Kiddush, we say Zeicha L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. When it comes to the mitzvah tzitzis, the mitzvah tzitzis is Zeicha L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. We learn Kriya Shema a few times a day. We mention Yetzias Mitzrayim. Is the Torah worried that if we don't remember Yetzias Mitzrayim, if we don't make so many zechroinis for Yetzias Mitzrayim, Chas v'Sholom, we're going to forget Yetzias Mitzrayim? There was such a concern. Why was it necessary that we have Seder, we're remembering Yetzias Mitzrayim? And we find by Matan Torah that the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Anoichi Hashem Alekecha, Asher Haitzesicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. The Rebbeinu Shalom says that I am Hashem, your God, that I took you out of Mitzrayim. And the Chayra, the Rebbeinu Shalom should have said, I am the Rebbeinu Shalom, that I created you. So the Rishonim speak about this. Someone mentioned to me yesterday, Simcha Geller was here. He mentioned to me that Yehuda's father mentioned to me that I don't know, he told me over this word from the Kuzri, that the Kuzri says that the Melech asked him that what's the Rebbeinu Shalom, what's the yichud of the Rebbeinu Shalom? So he said the Rebbeinu Shalom took us out of Mitzrayim, gave us the Torah. So he said that there's other nations that have a God, the that's greater than your God. Because you see that there's other nations that have a God, they serve a God that created the world. So the that's even greater than your God. So the Kuzri answered him and he told him that if somebody wants to say a sheker, so he's marchik edusay. He said, you come along and you say you have a God that created the world. So who was there to witness it? Who's going to be able to come and to tell you that that's not true? He said, but Yetzias Mitzrayim is something that we saw. Maimer Sinai is something that we saw. We saw Maimer Sinai b'chush. So the Rishonim explained that through Yetzias Mitzrayim, we're mechazik in us the Emunah chushes. The Emunah is not just something which we came about, that through our machshava, through our thoughts, we realize that there's a Rebbeinu Shalom in the world. But the Emunah becomes something that we can feel. It's something that which is real by us. That we have an Emunah chushes in the Rebbeinu Shalom because b'shas Yetzias Mitzrayim we came to Kriyas Yamsuf and we saw Zek Eli Vanveyu. Because b'shas the Matan Torah, we saw the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachol. We saw that we were able to have a level of nevuah where there was a scalus of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and we saw the Rebbeinu Shalom ourselves b'shas Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's why it's so important. We say the man tesaper bazne bincha, uben bincha eis asher salalti b'Mitzrayim. A person says over, he gives over to his children everything that the person experienced b'shas Yetzias Mitzrayim is something which is given over b'Mitzrayim, from a father to a son. That Keseder is giving over the fact that he heard from his father and his father heard from his father. The experience that we had b'shas Yetzias Mitzrayim, all the way Yetzias Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, Matan Torah, what Klal Yisrael lived through, b'shas the Kriyas Yamsuf, b'shas the Matan Torah, that a person should have that hargosha. And that's why it says that a person has to feel, a person has to feel that he himself, he has to get to that level of expression, that a person has to have that hargosha, that he himself feels that he was dear b'shas Yetzias Mitzrayim, that he gives it over from door to door. And there's Geseder Sakana, that if a person is going to pass over from generation to generation after so many doiras, that is so far from Yetzias Mitzrayim, that it could get watered down, that we won't have the same heritage. And we don't have the same heritage that our fathers and our Zaydas had. That there's that danger that won't be by us with that Emunah Chushis, that we won't have the same heritage. So it's not enough that we just say over that there was a Yetzias Mitzrayim, but we have to say that we lived the Yetzias Mitzrayim. It comes a Yom Tif, a person has to be margish Yetzias Mitzrayim. When it comes to the mitzvah of Tefillin, it comes to the mitzvah Tzitzis, when it comes to the mitzvah Kriya Shema, a person has to say that. He does. Why am I doing a mitzvah of Tefillin? Why am I doing a mitzvah Tzitzis? Why am I learning Kriya Shema? Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. There's many times that we do these mitzvahs and we don't think about it. We don't think about why we're putting on tefillin. Somebody came to me recently. His son put on tefillin. So I asked him, you learned the halachas of tefillin. About you learned the halachas of tefillin. You know tefillin. What you're putting on tefillin? He knows all the halachas of tefillin. I said, do you know why you put on tefillin? No, he doesn't know why we put on tefillin. He has no idea. So sometimes we're missing the ikar chosim and aseifa. Rather we learn. And we learn all the halachas. And it comes to putting on tefillin, we don't understand. But my father, he gives a drasha to the bar mitzvah bacher. He says that people go to the Greiser rabbis and they go to Greiser shivas, and they're all busy that the shiva should go and put the tefillin around the. My father doesn't do that. He won't put the tefillin around the bar mitzvah bacher's hand, but he'll speak to the bar mitzvah bacher and he's masber to him and explains to him what are you doing? Why are you putting the tefillin on your head? Why are you putting the tefillin on your arm? What does this symbolize? But the tefillin symbolizes that a person is gedenken of Tzedar Rebbeinu Shalom. He's mishabed his head to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Mishabed his lave to the Rebbeinu Shalom. But besides for that, we have to understand we're doing a mitzvah Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. That Keseder, the mitzvahs that we're doing this mitzvah Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, that's the inyan from the Saira, from a father to a son, to be it should become ingrained in us. We should have that heritage, that ad k'nei kach, that a person should be margish, that he was dear b'shas Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's the Saira. And that's why there's a mitzvah, the chayav adam liris is atzmai ye'ilu hu yatzam mitzrayim, that a person has to, through all the keseder mitzvahs that a person does, and the zifroinus, that a person is margish, that he himself went out from Mitzrayim. It's not just something that he heard, that's something that happened. It has to become Emunah Chushis by the mensch himself. That the person himself has that Emunah Chushis in himself. Then it's shayach that a person can give it over to his son, and then a person can hope that his son should also be margish that Emunah Chushis, that his son should have that Messiah, that he should be able to feel, to have that ergish, that he also was by Yetzias Mitzrayim, that he can give it over to his son. But if it doesn't become a chushis by the person himself, that the person doesn't have that hergish, that he was by Yetzias Mitzrayim, then as the dayras go on, the Messiah will be lost, that our children won't have that. So therefore, the Torah Keseder, we have Adgasha every single day. Multiple times a day, a person puts on his tzitzis, and right away he thinks the tzitzis Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. A person puts on his tefillin, the tefillin Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. Come Kriya Shema, Yetzias Mitzrayim comes to Yom Tif, comes to Akidah, comes to davening. The person's mentioning how many times Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. Keseder, you're covering over this inyan of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And that's the Messiah that a person gives over that it says that when a person the saper was they bin gesteht v'yadatem ki ani Hashem, not v'yedu, that they should know that Sedar Ribono Shel Olam. But the men shalem so nischazik by it should become nischazik by the person, the inyan of Mitzias Mitzrayim, that the person himself is margish, that he himself was dear b'shas Yitzias Mitzrayim, not just time he's saying over an episode that's in the Vitans, that it becomes an Emunah chushas by him, that it becomes a tivius by him, and Memele he's giving over that Messiah, and then he can hope that by his son it will also become a tivius. That the mitzvahs that we do, we should have an hergish b'shas mitzvah, that we ourselves should experience, that we ourselves were by Mitzrayim. We should get to that level of Emunah chushas, that we should be able to give over Be'ezer Hashem to our children, that our children should be zoiche, that they should experience, that they themselves were by Mitzrayim, that it should become, the Emunah should be by them, and Emunah chushas.